All right, welcome in to a Wednesday edition of the Jordy Culotta Show, live here from the UDL, presented daily by Go Chevrolet. Remember, our friends over at Go Chevrolet are located out in LaPlace, Louisiana. That's where you can find their new car lot, used car. Lot is located over here in Baton Rouge. Go Express Auto Sales on the corner of Florida Boulevard and Sherwood Forest. Online, you can shop all of the inventory at Go Chevrolet, GEAUX Chevrolet.com. Happy Wednesday morning to you here. We will talk to Jake Crane of the Jboy Show, who is fastly becoming the go-to source for SEC information as far as the podcast goes. If you have not subscribed to the Jboy Show or listened to the Jboy Show, I would urge you to get over there and check him out. He's got great guests and great information when talking about the SEC. He'll be here at 7:30 this morning.
Are you going to ask him about his Georgia pick? He has Georgia winning the national title.
No, I know. He said it here a couple of weeks ago. As he has fallen in love with the Georgia Bulldogs. JT Daniels, the first team preseason All-SEC quarterback. We'll ask him about some of the selections there and what LSU does, or his thoughts at LSU now that Miles Brennan is out, and yesterday tweeted out some messages about his surgery that it had gone well, and it talked about the messages that he had received. So we'll talk about that. Jean-Paul Bourgeois, our chef, is going to be here at 8:30 this morning. The meat eater, of course, of Duck Camp Dinners. He will be here at 8:30 this morning answering all of your food questions. So if you have food questions, jump inside of the Bunker app. You can check it out over on YouTube, Facebook. You can talk there, or head over to jordyculotta.show.com to find out what's going on from an audio video standpoint. You can get all the information there. We good?
Yeah, just trying to get the camera running again.
So we will have everything up for you and moving here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Jack is here, Noah is here on this Wednesday morning. We also have our Mailtime segment. So if you have your mail questions, get up and get them in.
Shoot them in the bunker.
You can get them into us direct message through the bunker, through Instagram, through email. Any way that you can get in touch with us, you can ask us a question. We'll answer it at 8 o'clock this morning. Coming up here on the Jordy Culotta Show as we get moving. Daily, our coffee is brought to you by Majestic Coffee. Remember, online you can find them at DeliciousSips.com. DeliciousSips.com. True Blue Water gives us our water here at TrueBlueWater.com. And as always, our phone line guests are compliments of Metropolitan Health Group. Real doctors, real solutions. Get in touch with Charlie Harvey and Jason Ramazan to get in touch with those guys over at Metropolitan Health Group. So yesterday the news came out that Miles Brennan was doing okay after surgery, and obviously the storyline yesterday was all of what was going to happen to LSU. Ed Ogeron had come out and made some public comments for the first time as he was speaking on his weekly radio hit, and was talking about Max Johnson being the starting quarterback and that they are just a snap away from Garrett Nussmeier. No timeline really put on Miles Brennan officially as far as he could get back. Yesterday we talked to Dr. Bankhead from Ochsner Health, and he told us, around 6 to 8 weeks for a humerus bone injury is usually the timeline of that setback. So we will kind of just wait and see what happens there as far as the timeline is concerned on Brennan. Do we need to take a break? All right, let's take a break and get these technical difficulties figured out, and we'll be back here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Shut off and turn back over.
just the video, like on the VMix, is frozen too, not just on the screen. Yes, like it's. Got it. All right, thank you. Bye.
Gearing up for spring and summer down here in South Louisiana, and you want to keep your lawn maintained during these sunny seasons, get in touch with our friend Blake Abear over at Abear's Lawn Maintenance, where he says, you grow it, I mow it. 225-485-8022, 225-485-8022 is where you can find Abear's Lawn and Maintenance, the official lawn and maintenance company of the undisclosed location. Gearing up for spring and summer down here in South Louisiana, and you want to keep your lawn maintained during these sunny seasons, get in touch with our friend Blake Abear over at Abear's Lawn Maintenance, where he says, All right, welcome back here to the Jordy Culotta Show. We got it all figured out here on this Wednesday. Hopefully we can stay away from technical difficulties again as we bring you our show here live, presented by Go Chevrolet. Online at GEAUXchevrolet.com, and shout out to Papa Earl's, our official spice here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Remember, you can pick up Papa Earl's locally at Calandro's, High Neighbor, Mathern's. They are online at papaearls.com, on Instagram, all over Facebook, all over social media, and you see the cup that we're drinking out of every single day here as Papa Earl's. We welcome them aboard. Apologize about the technical difficulties. We're up and moving here. We will talk to Jake Crane coming up from the Jboy show at 7:30 this morning. Then at 8:30, Chef Jean-Paul Bourgeois will be here. If you have any food questions, hop inside of the bunker. If you got any questions at all, we'll have our Mailtime segment coming up at 8 o'clock and answer all of whatever you have. Like Quan Alexander landing back in New Orleans as the linebacker. Quan Alexander and the New Orleans Saints agree to a one-year, $3 million deal, according to Adam Schefter and ESPN. Alexander, of course, a former LSU standout from 2012 through 2014. He was drafted in the 4th round by the Tampa Bay Bucks in the 2015 draft. He was traded to San Francisco and then came down to New Orleans last November. He started every game for the Saints, but then tore his Achilles in Week 16, and I think the most impressive part here for Quan Alexander is we've seen the medical, just kind of the medical miracles that have been happening over the last couple of years in sports, as we've seen.
Especially with Achilles. You used to be done. You're like a horse.
I mean, athletes coming back from torn knees like Adrian Peterson, what he did to his ACL, to this with Quan Alexander and what he's done with an Achilles injury. I mean, look, no comparison at all, but I've torn my Achilles. And I'm not a professional athlete by any means. It wasn't motivated to get back for millions of dollars in compensation. But for him to be running at full speed, like that video showed a couple of days ago, 7 months after tearing his Achilles, like a clean snap of his Achilles, that is incredible. I mean, first off, the mental part of that. I mean, just from my own experience, and again,
half bunch up.
Yeah, it rolls up.
Oh,
it rolls
God,
up,
dude.
But the hardest part, and I can't imagine being an NFL football player. I mean, like I was coming back and running like in Ancient Athletes, which is no comparison at all. Please don't listen to this and think that I'm comparing what Quan Alexander is. I'm just giving you my personal experience from a torn Achilles and the mental part of like thinking in your mind, I'm good to sprint. Like, let me just open it up and run as fast as I can is as difficult of a challenge almost as the physical rehabilitation. And the physical rehabilitation is grueling for an Achilles. I mean, you have got to do it every single day. You almost have to teach yourself almost how to walk again on that side because, I mean, your Achilles is kind of the push-off of your toe. You know what I mean? As you push up to walk, that's your Achilles functioning. And that process of getting back is just, it's very grueling, it's very time consuming, it's very meticulous and tedious. It's just, it's as an NFL player, I can't imagine being back 7 months after a clean tear of Achilles, and running like the way that Quan Alexander was running, and moving, starting, stopping, cutting. I mean, that is incredible. And Dr. Reef, who we talked to here a couple of times, who is Alvin Kamara's personal trainer, also worked with Quan Alexander. And if you go back to our last interview, and we can look Dr. Reef up and see if we can't get him back on over the next couple of days to talk a little bit about Quan specifically. But he had a big hand in getting Quan back to, being mobile and being strong enough, but more importantly, and moreover, to the point of an Achilles return for a professional athlete, just the mental confidence to be able to move like that and to start and stop and sprint like that, I think is
game speed.
Very much a compliment to Quan, very much a compliment to the medical professional staff that is around him and responsible for getting him back to playing shape, because that's amazing. That's very 2021.
Even Dr. Reef said he's never seen anybody like recover from a Achilles the way that Quan did. Like, it's just
crazy.
It is mind blowing.
And I mean, to see him moving like that.
Right.
I would
agree.
Mackenzie Milton. He's probably going to be the starter at Florida State. Like, if you've ever saw his knee injury.
Oh, yeah, the old
UCF.
UCF quarterback.
The fact that he can walk again. Like,
same with Dak Prescott.
Derwin James.
Right.
Out of Los Angeles with the Chargers. I mean, the way that he's moving and training. Did you watch Hard Knocks last year? Did you see the injury that he sustained?
Yeah.
I mean, he shredded his knee. Shredded it after, he was like coming back.
Even Joe.
From an injury very similar to that last year. Like,
right.
I mean, he's coming off of a back-to-back nearly career-ending injuries. And did you see the video that surfaced of Derwin James guarding Keenan Allen yesterday on the sidelines? I mean, like, there's captions of like, is this guy is he a cornerback or is he a safety? I mean, he's like running step for step with Keenan Allen down the sidelines, not even a year after destroying his knee. It's just it's I love it. I mean, it's cool to see.
What do you think it is? Is it the combination of just sports medicine advancement, or one, these guys are freak of nature?
I think it's first and foremost, it's they pay attention to their bodies now 365 days a year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, as soon as, like, I mean, as
hold up, this guy tore his knee, the guy guarding Keenan Allen?
Derwin James.
Yeah.
Best safety in the league, bro.
Shredded his knee.
Shredded it.
Looks better than ever.
Or one of the best safeties. I think Matthew's up there. But I think that there's a combination of things at work here. Is that first and foremost, they pay attention to their body 365 days a year. And not only what they do physically, what they put into their body. Like how they eat, all the vitamins, supplements, everything that goes into these elite athletes, the Derwin James of the world, the Quan Alexanders of the world, guys that are counting on their body to provide their lifestyle, to provide the food for what they eat. Mm-hmm. So their body is in tip-top shape, right? I mean, like, as far as like health standards goes, they are at the top of the spectrum. Combined with the medical advancements that has happened, rapidly over the last 20 years, I think when you get the combination of the medical expertise that they have access to the motivation that they have to get back on the field and do it, correctly, with physical rehabilitation, the nutrients and minerals that it takes to put in your body and get to that point.
At LSU.
Oh, absolutely.
Even
and it's starting there. It's starting at very at a very young level now. I mean, I even think that high schools are paying attention to nutrition plans now. I mean, I know high schools that are implementing nutrition plans along with their weight programs in the off season now. So all that stuff is now very much catching on at younger generations. So by the time they get to the NFL, by the time they get to the NBA, by the time they get to the professional level, I mean, they've had this expectation about their body, the way it should perform, for a while. And they also have a standard to what they're going to how they're going to treat it. Mm-hmm. And so when it fails them, when something breaks down on that vehicle, on their body, I mean, they are going to go to whatever lengths legally it takes.
How much does LeBron
to
spend
get
on his
back.
body?
$1.5 million.
Yeah, $1.5 million, yeah.
And I mean, why would look at what he
Yeah.
gets in return off of it? I mean,
Brady.
look at the way that he moves at 36 years old. I
Head's
mean,
still at the rim.
oh, he's running downhill. He's running full speed. I mean, he does not look like he has broken down a bit. Aaron Rodgers. I mean, look at where
Tom
Aaron
Brady.
Rodgers is. Tom Brady is kind of the outlier, I
Right.
think, to the argument. I
Right.
mean, but maybe he's becoming closer to the example.
Yeah.
But I mean, even Aaron Rodgers, the way that
Right.
he's performing at this point in his career, you know, a decade ago,
Even after all those injuries.
Yeah.
remember how just astonished we were by Favre.
Right.
You know, I mean, how shocked we were
And he was just country strong. He was doing
in
that
watching
stuff.
Favre perform in those Vikings years or later in those Packers years. I mean, it was just like, when is he going to break down?
Right.
When is he going to stop playing at this level? And I think, you know, Steph Curry's 34 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, he signed a $200 million extension yesterday with the Golden State Warriors for 4 more years
Those
of play.
knees
I mean,
look fresh, man.
A-Rod and Steph Curry are the only 2 American athletes ever to sign multiple $200 million contracts.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Steph Curry, 34 in the NBA. It's different for a baseball player, in my
Right.
opinion.
Yeah,
I mean,
182
right.
games.
I mean, yeah, and while it is physically taxing, you know what I mean? Like, I understand that the toll of a baseball grind and what it takes on your body, and just talking to some of those athletes, it's not as physically demanding as the game of football
It's
and
not,
basketball
it's not
is.
a car wreck every
Yes.
Sunday.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, even an NBA schedule, 82
Right.
games, the travel, the start to stop.
Oh, you ever see how much Curry runs in a game? He runs probably as much as a
Right.
soccer player around
Right.
those screens.
So, you know, I mean, to see Quan, I mean, we've gone a long way to talk about Quan, but just, I mean, the medical
Advancements.
the medical advancements, the medical experts, the medical technology that these guys have at their disposal, along with the motivation and expectation they have to perform, I think combines to give you 7 months after shredding an Achilles that Quan Alexander can be back on an NFL practice field moving and running at full speed. Now, he's not full contact, and the news is that the Saints signed him to a 1-year deal for $3 million. So he's back. He's back in New Orleans, and the Saints, you know, need a little bit of a linebacker assistance outside of Demario Davis. I mean, you know, they need some help there, and he and Quan were really clicking.
Yeah.
I mean, they were playing
Right.
really, really good before he went down in Week 16 last year. So, yeah, I'm with you. I think the Saints get a steal, but more impressively, they get a guy who looks like he's going to be full speed when the season
Right.
starts. I'd have never
Right.
thought that Quan Alexander would have been ready to go Week 1 of the NFL season, but after looking at that film of him working out a couple of days ago, I'm curious if he's going to practice this week.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
like, he
How
looks
soon?
so good
I know.
moving out there 7 months after an Achilles injury that you feel great for him,
I'm
man.
trying to think what's now like the tombstone career injury. It used to be like in the 80s, if you blew your ACL out, you were done. It used to even 10 years ago, Achilles.
It really
you
just
were
depends
done.
on the athlete now. Like it's not like one injury that encompasses all. And I think part of it
Peyton Manning came back from a broken
right?
neck.
I think part of it is like what you're saying is the acceptance of like sports psychology. Like allowing
Yeah.
them to realize that plays a huge factor in the injury and recovering from it. And so I think that's part of the reason why now it's become less likely for a career to end off of something like that.
Yeah, I mean, there just seems to be, you know, that we are at a point in medical advancements and medical technology where it doesn't feel like anything is impossible.
Jack Marucci.
You know, it feels like nothing is impossible to either return from or to get over and play again. You know, it just it really is incredible to see what these athletes can come back from and then perform at such a high level like they do. I mean, even like the Russell Westbrooks of the world,
Right.
how that guy still moves like that after. I mean, remember what happened to Derrick Rose after his knees broke
Right.
down. I mean, he just
Yeah.
wasn't that explosive, fast moving, could weave in and out of traffic type of player in the NBA. Now, credit to Derrick Rose, he's changed his game and stayed
Right.
relevant and stayed really playing in a high. I don't know if Russell Westbrook could do that once his physical capabilities
He's
break
just
down.
young.
Right.
You
And
know what I mean?
he's had the ACL.
Yes,
injuries,
that's what's most impressive
is
about
that he's
him.
still
is that he's been injured,
Right.
and he still moves like that.
He just plays the wrong sport. He's a safety. He's just a safety.
Or a
dribbling
running
the
back.
ball.
Right.
I mean, like, pitch it to him.
Take your head off.
But yes, I think Jimmy James is probably right inside of the bunker when he says concussions
Yeah, I don't know how you fix
today
that one.
is what's going to probably be the most extreme injury that athletes could.
And it's not even really the now effects of it. It's the fear of the future, like what's going to happen later in life.
I mean, it's pretty bad. Like, I had one from high school, and like I got a learning disability from it, and like I'll talk to a doctor, and like this is what's going on, and like, yeah, that makes sense, but you know, like they just don't know. Like a concussion's only 15 years old. Like, back in your day, it was just a stinger. There was no thing.
No, I mean, I can remember, you know, like not even with me, I can remember like teammates and seeing things where people just didn't know what they were looking at. You know what I mean? Like they didn't understand what was going on. And the game and the mentality of the game was so macho, was so beat your chest, was so get back into the game that you rarely even brought those injuries to light unless you, I mean, the only way that you would recognize a concussion back when I was playing is if somebody was like dazed and confused.
Lined up on the
like
other side.
somebody was walking towards the opposite sideline,
knocked out cold,
or you stood over them on the field and, you know, like kind of like, you know where you're at, you know, and even some of those scenarios you would see them go back in the game.
Yeah, I in a basketball game, my sophomore year, I got a concussion and I was like out for like 5 seconds maybe. Got up, ran around a little bit in the hall behind the game, and came back into the third quarter.
Yeah,
like, I mean, it's just
they didn't know what they were looking at.
Yeah,
and they finally had data of those athletes that were coming out of that time period saying, hold up. I mean, they are experiencing a lot of trauma post-career for what they sustained while playing. We need to start paying more attention to the day-to-day functionality of this stuff.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like if a guy's got a couple of, if an athlete, whether male or female, because I mean, if you've seen some of the numbers in women's soccer and gymnastics, I mean, the concussion levels in those sports are like incredible, unreal. The amount of just day-to-day concussions that people sustain in those sports. All right, we're going to talk some football coming up here with Jake Crane from the Jboy Show, and we'll talk to him about some SEC storylines, including what he thinks about what's happening down here in Baton Rouge with LSU. As over the last couple of weeks, LSU has lost their starting left tackle and potentially a starter at the quarterback spot, or at least, if nothing else, very much quality depth to the most important position out there at quarterback, with Miles Brennan going down and having what seems to be successful surgery on a Tuesday. Brennan tweeted out yesterday following his arm surgery that he had received all the messages and was very thankful, and that the surgery was a success. And he did not give a timeline on when he would be expected to come back, nor did Ed Ogeron go into a timeline yesterday morning when he stopped on local radio here in Baton Rouge and gave the update on Miles and confirmed it from the program, even though the program had issued a statement on it 24 hours earlier. Ogeron yesterday morning went public with his thoughts, and obviously he had felt terrible for Brennan in the situation that he is now in and what he's got to go through to get back out onto the football field. But in that same light, Ogeron announced that Max Johnson, I think, not surprising to anybody, is now the starting quarterback going into fall camp. And Johnson has that title of QB1. There is no more competition that is to be discussed. He is the starting quarterback for the LSU football team heading into the opener, heading into fall camp, and they can prepare with him. Now, every first-team rep going into week one, Max Johnson can get that. If you listen to yesterday's show, if you've heard us talk here before, I don't think that was going to change anything, even with Miles Brennan in the competition. If the only thing that it would have changed is the rep count that Max Johnson was going to get with the overall number one unit. And Brennan would have taken his fair share throughout fall camp. But I think even the program, even LSU football, tipped their hand to who the starting quarterback was going to be. Whether it was, and I think this was the most egregious evidence, it was Ed Ogeron a couple of weeks back going on public radio on WWL with Bobby Hebert and Christian Garrick and Mike Detillier on their new trio, on their new show. Hebert and Garrick have been there, but they added Detillier to the mix. And Ogeron said there on that public platform that the entire team, or the locker room and the coaching staff, knows who the better quarterback is, or knows who the quarterback of this team is going to be. So right there, he announced that there's really not a competition. I mean, because everybody kind of already knows. And when we brought it up then, and we can say it now, if it was Miles Brennan, you just come out and say it. He's the veteran. He's the senior. He's the experienced guy. He was the one that really needed the security of, am I going to play? Am I going to be in the mix so I don't have to look at other routes?
Media Day, I think, said it all. He's
Media
been there
Day.
for 5 years.
Media Day said a lot, that you traveled with Austin Deculus and Derek Stingley. If the team knew who the quarterback was and the coaching staff knew who the quarterback was internally, then you allow the veteran to make the trip and represent the program. So I don't think that there's a lot of change as far as the starting mentality goes for LSU football into the season. I got to imagine the source of anxiety, though, the anxiety level for Ed Ogeron, Jake Peets, and the offensive staff is probably nearing red right now. It's probably going to an emergency alert because, like we said yesterday, you're now a snap away from a true freshman taking meaningful snaps in the SEC with a team that has championship aspirations. I mean, LSU within their four walls, within their own walls, believe that they are a championship roster, believe that they can win it this season. They can get to the SEC title game, and once you get to that game, if you win it, you're in the Final Four, and potentially if you lose it, you can maybe back in. And they think they can get there. But they think they could get there 48 hours ago, 72 hours ago, much more confidently than they do now because of just losing that member of the team, losing a veteran, losing a guy who understands the offense, can communicate it, can talk it, can take reps off of Max Johnson. There is now a concern that you over-rep Johnson over the next couple of weeks, right? I mean, you don't want somebody getting dead arm in training camp going into the season because he's taking too many reps. So now you've got to really think about how you're going to distribute these reps to Max Johnson. How many days off does he get? When do you give him his first day off? I mean, these are the types of things now that you're thinking about going into the season with LSU because of the situation that they're in. We'll talk about all this with Jake Crane from the Jboy Show coming up here. If you've got questions for us, jump inside the bunker. You can do that over on YouTube, Facebook, and check out the new website. Give us some feedback, JordyCulottaShow.com. You can listen to the audio. You can watch what's happening on the show. Hopefully at some point we're going to have an interactive capability over on the website that ties all the comments together. Everybody that's on Facebook, YouTube, if you want to comment on the website, we can consolidate that all, which is our next action item over at JordyCulottaShow.com from our friends over at Nevadis. Randall Nachman, what an incredible experience we have had with Nevadis, and now you get to see what the product looks like that they've been working on countless hours and putting a bunch of time and energy into the website, and we absolutely love it. Aesthetically, it's awesome. It's easy to manage. It's easy to navigate. Hopefully you learn a little bit about us and our show. You stick around. You buy some merchandise. You can give us some feedback. You can give us some criticism. We love all that, man. That constructive criticism for us is how we really feel like we can get better, by listening to you, the audience member who wants to interact with us here. And Nevadis, I can't tell you about our experience, how much we appreciate what Randall Nachman and that crew has done for us, and let them help you out today. If you need web design, if you need mobile design, if you need anything that can help you from an IT standpoint, let Nevadis take that pressure off of you, because this is a firsthand testimony from the Jordy Culotta Show. They are fantastic, very easy to work with, and check out the website for yourself. That is a lot of their vision, a lot of their action, and a ton of their work and hours, and we appreciate that very much over at Nevadis. Nevadis.com is how you find them. Next, we talk to Jake Crane from the Jboy Show. Give me a minute to reset. I'll be right back here on the Jordy Culotta Show, presented every day by Go Chevrolet. Are you self-employed? Then you need to learn about Angel Oak's Home Loans Bank Statement program that they're offering, which makes you eligible as a self-employed borrower to purchase or refinance a home without requiring a tax return. If you want to learn more, get in touch with me. Email me, Jordy@JordyCulottaShow.com, to learn about the bank statement loan program offered by Angel Oak. Jordy@JordyCulottaShow.com to learn more. Welcome back here to the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered every day by Go Chevrolet. Check them out online at GEAUXChevrolet.com. Also brought to you by Edward Jones, our friend over there, Daniel Newman. Just heard from old Newman. He's doing good out there in central Louisiana. Let him help you out with your financial outlook today. Let him answer any questions that you have about how you can get financial security, whether you have questions about your 401k, about Social Security, about investments that you may be looking at. If you work in the plant industry down here in South Louisiana, whether you're at Exxon, Dow, BASF, any of the plants along Chemical Alley out there on Highway 30, check in with Daniel Newman. He is very much an expert in the field of helping with the finances and the 401k, the Social Security, investments, just advice, financial advice. He's our financial advisor. Let him be yours. Get in touch with me today. Email him is probably the best way to do that at daniel.newman@edwardjones.com. Daniel.newman@edwardjones.com. If you want to stop in and see him, it's an easy stop in to check him out over there in central Louisiana, right across from Stabs. Check him out. Edward Jones, Daniel Newman, Daniel.newman@edwardjones.com. All right, SEC football is cranking up. Teams are set to report. LSU will get on campus Thursday. They will be on the field later this week in preparation for their opener versus UCLA. Programs are starting to do that all over the conference. And one thing that's happening in the conference is that everybody's starting to go and finding a podcast that is originating out of Georgia because it's got the best information around the conference. The SEC football, obviously SEC football is front and center news right now and has been and will always be during this time of the sports calendar. But there was a lot of momentum heading in the direction of the Southeastern Conference with Oklahoma and Texas joining the league. And our friend Jake Crane is sitting in a fantastic spot because he is the man behind the Jboy Show, and it is blowing up. Obviously, if you're following him on social media, if you've seen him on YouTube, you've seen the podcast, to me, he's got the best information in the conference. He's got the best guests. He's got the most updated information on recruiting, on all of the teams, and that's why we're going to talk to him once a week here during the football season, and we're looking forward to getting that going here this morning on the Jordy Culotta Show. So we welcome Jboy into the conversation. It was great to see you down in Hoover, my friend, and good to have you back on here this morning. How are you?
Man, Jordy, I'm great. I appreciate the kind words, my friend. Obviously, love what you're doing as well, and we're going to get you on weekly at the Jboy Show soon, especially after this announcement we're dropping next week. But no, I appreciate the kind words, man. I'm just ready for it to get here. We're close. The clock's ticking. We actually have football this month. Took the Diamondbacks last night for a decent amount of change, plus 1.5, so I'm feeling dangerous this morning.
Nice. Bumgardner versus his old Giant squad looked good last night.
Yeah.
So Jboy, obviously the news that rocked Baton Rouge and LSU is that Miles Brennan sustained an injury away from the football field earlier this week that he had to have surgery on. He tweeted out yesterday that surgery was successful. A couple of medical professionals that we've talked to look to about a 6 to 8 week time period of him missing action this season. What does that mean for LSU? What was your reaction when you heard that Brennan was out?
Well, and again, regardless of how it happened, even though that is important, I hate it for the kid, especially his age, trying to fight for a job. I thought Max Johnson was going to end up being the guy anyway. And what it really does is it hamstrings Jake Peetz a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think enough people are talking about from a play calling standpoint now. You're not going to be able to sit here and run Max Johnson as much as you wanted, or especially in the red zone, be able to do as much outside the pocket or from a zone read standpoint and stuff like that, because if he gets hurt, now there's not a guy behind him like a Miles Brennan that has experience that scares you. Not that Garrett isn't a good player, talking about Nussmeier, but it's a lot to ask for a young guy to come in and be the guy. I love what Max brings. I thought he was the better fit of this offense anyway, but you got to feel it for Miles Brennan. Hopefully he gets back soon. But if you're Jake Peetz, it really kind of puts a wrench in what you wanted to do from a quarterback run game standpoint, and that's what opens up stuff on the RPO. That's what holds that backside defensive end on the zone read, and it's just another threat you have to account for as a defensive coordinator.
How much pressure does it put on the play caller knowing that you're a snap away from having a true freshman be on the field taking meaningful snaps in an SEC game? What does that do to a play caller?
Yeah, well, again, it kind of cuts the playbook down a little bit. And, on the third and short, and in the red zone, really, because, a lot of guys can call plays in between the 20s. Once you get inside the 20, when the safeties are able to come up a little bit closer to the box, which means they're closer to the line of scrimmage, where you got to find a way to not just out-angle people, but outsmart people from a eyes and feet standpoint on the defensive side. If they know the quarterback's not going to be a huge threat to run, I almost say it's kind of like when Jared Stenham was at Auburn, and Auburn was trying to run the zone read with them. Nobody really respected it. The one time he pulled it was against Alabama and scored a 26-yard touchdown, but that's once out of a ton of times. So when I look at it, it just hamstrings you from especially what you can call in the red zone, which is where the money's made.
What was the impact of LSU losing Dare Rosenthal to the conference? It was a huge story down here in Baton Rouge. What did that do for the overall thought of LSU's chances going into the season from a national standpoint? What did you think about it?
Well, you never want to lose anybody, but especially an offensive tackle that you expected big things out of, that kind of proven himself in Dare Rosenthal. And look, it hurts. It does hurt. Changes, it shuffles up the offensive line because, I always say it's not about the starting five. You got to have at least 7 and really 8 in this conference and guys that are able to kind of be moved around. So it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt. And again, I'm sure Jake Peetz just wants the season to get here before anything else happens. But, it makes it a lot tougher because I'm a firm believer in the games one up front.
Tell me what the thoughts are on Brian Harsin going into year one. I know that things are getting closer for Auburn, obviously, just like they are for the rest of the conference. And starting year one for him, it seems like he won the speaking part of the opening year on the Auburn tour, touring the state, and it looks like alumni and supporters and the fan base are really bought into his program. I know that you're close to the Auburn program. What are the thoughts around Harsin going into year one?
There's a lot of excitement. He's brought some accountability back to Auburn. And look, I know Gus Malzahn was a good guy, but you don't pay somebody $7 million to babysit. You pay him to win. You pay him to beat Georgia. He was able to beat Alabama a couple times. But what Brian Harsin brings is what Auburn's kind of used to. We're going to turn it into a street fight. And at the end of the day, when you play Auburn, win, lose, or draw, you're going to feel it. It's going to be a physical game. From a recruiting standpoint, in the 23 and 24 class, they feel really good about some offensive linemen. Something that, Gus Malzahn didn't do a very good job of recruiting and even developing for the next level in the NFL. So just from an overall standpoint, a program standpoint, Auburn fans are excited for a change. And, to me, Auburn's kind of like LSU. They do better when people don't think they're going to be as good as what they are, or kind of as the outsider. Typically, that's when Auburn's the most dangerous. What I'm interested to see is schematically how much they're under center. I think that's how you hide a team that doesn't have a lot of tackles, offensive tackles on the roster. You slow down the pass rush, you're able to hide the ball in the play action. And are they going to get the tight ends involved on offense? I think they will. I always say the three things you haven't seen in Auburn in about 7 years are aliens, Bigfoot, and a consistent passing game to tight end.
TJ Finley, the storyline of him going into camp, where is that sitting with Auburn fans as they look at Bo Nix, who has been the starter, but Finley transfers in? What are the chances of a quarterback shakeup this season on the Plains?
It would have to happen during the season. Bo would have to play bad. What it does give you, and it's actually the inverse of what LSU is going through right now, is you can run Bo Nix now. You can run him more in the red zone. You can take some chances from a play calling standpoint. And just like I said about LSU, you can't now with Miles getting hurt and not want to put a young guy in there. So I think it frees up the play calling. But, Bo Nix is a guy, I think he kind of welcomes the competition. I think he kind of likes having the chip on his shoulder. And, look, it's good to have someone pushing you. I mean, Bo Nix hadn't had anyone pushing him. I mean, Joey Gatewood couldn't throw it from me to you if we were sitting in the sports bar together. And, at the end of the day, when you look at it, you want that at every position. What makes Nick Saban great at what he does? There's competition at every position. Nobody can ever relax. And when you never relax, you're always grinding. When you're always grinding, you're always sharpening iron. And that's something that you want as a program and on the team at every position. And they've got a couple games to get used to the new system. You got Akron, you got Alcorn State, and then you go up to Happy Valley against Penn State. And we're going to see how that goes. That should be a hell of a game.
The Jboy Show, check it out on Twitter. Give him a follow there to keep up with what's happening on the show. At the Jboy Show is where you find him on social media. On the latest podcast, Alabama is the featured team. You sit down with Stephen M. Smith over there, who's an insider from Alabama Magazine, and you guys talk about new offensive coordinator Bill O'Brien. We have seen that position be very popular in college football for a while now, whether it was Lane Kiffin or Steve Sarkisian. There's a lot of attention to the play caller in Tuscaloosa. What type of impact has O'Brien had on Alabama and Bryce Young up to this point, and what do you expect him to look like once the fall gets here?
Well, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Zoolander, but it's like Nick Saban's running the school for offensive coordinators who want to call plays good and do other stuff good, too. I mean, everybody that goes there, it's amazing. They just spin them out to a better job. But look, here's the thing, and we talked about this on the show today. Bryce Young was Sark's guy. I mean, went out to Cali and got him. They were very tight, had a great relationship. Bill O'Brien has come in. I think he's built a pretty good rapport with Bryce. It's going to be impossible to build the rapport that him and Sark had, especially early. But what I'm interested to see is, and look, it's Alabama's offense, Bill O'Brien's offensive coordinator, but there will be some Bill O'Brien flavor in here. Are they going to keep Bryce Young in the pocket more and tell him, listen, this isn't high school, even though we got some reps last year, you're not Jalen Hurts. You're not big enough to just take off and take hits and make it through a whole season. You've got to be very smart. So I'm interested to see against Miami early if they sit there and try and beat them from the pocket. I think you're going to get some sprint out. They did a lot of that with Deshaun Watson for the Texans. And at the end of the day, Bill O'Brien is going to, install his passing game from an intermediate standpoint. And I'm very interested to see how Bryce handles it. And how he handles it when the first read is not there. Is it, the first guy's not there, I'm gone? Or is it, the first guy's not there, I'm going to go to my second progression, he's not there, I'm going to throw the check down. That's what I'm looking for early out of Alabama. You
told us that you liked Georgia win the national championship a couple of weeks back when we had you on here. That was before SEC Media Days, and now we see that JT Daniels has been voted the first team preseason quarterback from the media members around the conference. What do you think about the steam rolling downhill now from Athens, Georgia, where it seems like a lot of people have high expectation for the Dogs, who you like to win it all going into this season, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, and look, I haven't even been in the media long enough to be one of these guys. It's like, oh, well, Georgia's going to win it this year. They're going to win it this year. And they're going to win it this year. I really believe when I look at that roster and what they did in the defensive backfield out of the transfer portal, what was once a weakness, they had Tyke Smith, they had Darian Kendrick as well to go with Cine and Speed and all those guys. But offensively, I really believe that Kirby trusts Monken and JT Daniels. I think Georgia may be tasked to run this year, as shocking as that sounds. I think they're going to attack vertical early. You saw that at the end of last year with JT. They're comfortable with each other. Pickens is gone, but they add, obviously, Arik Gilbert, who somehow got eligible. I guess Quinn Ewers can do a whole semester in a weekend. And
You're
Eric
welcome.
Can get eligible.
You're welcome.
Yeah, through University of Phoenix or whatever, him and Larry Fitzgerald sitting down doing classwork together. So, but no, I do. I look at Georgia, and again, week 1 against Clemson, it's the best insurance policy in college football. You win that one, You feel pretty good about what's going to happen throughout the season, especially with the way the East is. And I do think that Kirby Smart will be the first assistant to beat Nick Saban.
Jay, what do you make of these stories of the SEC adding teams? Texas and Oklahoma, tell me your thoughts there. And then reports earlier this week that Florida State and Clemson are blowing up Sankey and looking if they got spots available for them. What do you think this ultimately looks like when it's all said and done?
And I think we're going to end up having either a Power 3 conference full of a whole hell of a lot of teams in each conference, or a Power 4 full of about 20 to 24 teams. I don't think it's slowing down. And look, from an SEC standpoint, adding Texas and Oklahoma, why not?
Yeah.
But same thing. I'll tell you the same thing I told Texas and Oklahoma fans. Be careful what you wish for. This is not one bowl game where 8 guys are opting out. You have to go through the absolute 9 rings of hell to get through this thing and then play in the SEC championship game. To quote DeMarcus Cousins, this ain't a walk in the park over here. And you got to play defense. I think it's great for the league. Now, looking at expanding past that, I would be shocked if they didn't eventually. I don't think it's going to happen very soon. What I think you're going to end up seeing is the Big 12 and the Pac-12 merging. You're going to have about 4 of the Big 12 teams both either go to the AAC or the Big 10. Then the SEC is going to be like, all right, we got to add 4 more teams. And that's when I think you'll have a chance to see Florida State, Clemson, Ohio State, and Michigan, possibly if they don't want to stay in the Big 10, which I would be shocked. But I think it's very much more likely you see Clemson, Florida State, North Carolina, and Virginia, something like that.
Around the college football world, they kind of think that it's universally agreed upon the playoff expansion, but nothing's written in stone. And I don't know if you saw the article, CBS Sports brought it up. There was a lot of Pac-12 and even Big Ten commissioners saying, like, whoa, we haven't even agreed to this. We were going to meet in November. And there were some quotes saying, why would we expand? There's going to be a lot of SEC teams playing in it. Do you think now, if Oklahoma and Texas joining the SEC, some of these schools might pump the brakes on the expansion of college football playoff?
To me, it's like an angry ex-wife situation. Like, oh, well, you want to add Texas and Oklahoma? Well, we won't expand the playoffs. I would be shocked if they didn't keep the expansion just because of everything they went through and all the hoops that have already been listed. But, I mean, if you look at the way that even the Big 12 reacted to ESPN, claiming they were tampering on, conference expansion, which in all actuality, they probably were. But when I look at it, I would be very surprised. I just think you're getting a lot of complaining from the angry ex-girlfriend or ex-boyfriend, and everything like that. But I would be surprised. It makes for good conversation, and you never know in today's college football. But guys, literally 50 years from now, we are going to look, and even before that, we're going to look back on 2021 and be like, this is the most seismic year ever in college football. You have the NIL, transfer portal, playoff expansion, conference expansion. Is it still going to be conference expansion? It's absolutely wild.
And I think we'll look back on 2025 when this thing finally expands and say, what were y'all doing for the previous 80 years trying to figure out the champion of this thing? What took you so long to get to this model where this is how you crown a champion? Put the best teams in a playoff format and let them figure it out on the field.
I'll tell you this, Jordy. I think Texas and Oklahoma will be playing in the SEC next fall.
I agree with that. 100%. I mean, it goes right back to your girlfriend, boyfriend example. I mean, how do you break up with your spouse or your ex and continue to live with them for a year? You know what I mean? Like, it's over. This is going to be awkward.
Yeah, and there's precedent. Look at A&M and Missouri. They're supposed to hang around a lot longer than what they did. And the Big 12 was like, nah, y'all can get out of here. I'm not paying for this anymore. Exactly.
And they got enough in the call for to cut the check next season and get over to the SEC. So I'm with you. I expect that to happen. Jake Crane, a.k.a. the Jboy Show. Find him on Twitter. Find him on Instagram. Find him on YouTube. You can find him everywhere. The handle is at the Jboy Show. We appreciate his insight. We'll talk to him once a week here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Thanks for the insight this morning, man. We'll talk again soon.
Always, Jordy, love coming on. You'll do a hell of a job. Excited to get you on the show. And make sure everybody next week watch for a big announcement. We got something cool happening. So we'll holler at you soon.
All right, man. See you. There's Jboy checking in this morning. We'll be on his show later this afternoon.
Got his Twitter back.
He got his Twitter back. And he's got a lot of cool stuff coming up. So make sure and pay attention to what he's got going on over there. Remember, daily here, we are brought to you by Hub International Insurance. The rising cost of health insurance is directly related to the frequency and severity of large claims. If you're a business owner, what have you done to address the claims associated with your group health plan? Have you ever considered a narrow network for your health plan? Let us over at Hub International explain the benefits for you. If you want to get in touch with Scott Daugherty, you can do that through me. Jordy at JordyCulottaShow.com, Jordy at JordyCulottaShow.com. Let me put you in touch with the professionals over at Hub International Insurance, the official insurance provider for the New Orleans Saints, the New Orleans Pelicans, and the Jordy Culotta Show. We will roll on. We'll be back. Remember, get your questions inside of the bunker. If you're looking to chat here over on YouTube, just give us a question. If you're on Facebook, make sure and put that in the comments section. If you want to email, DM, however you want to get in touch with us, ask us a question here on the Jordy Culotta Show. We'll answer that for our Mailtime segment coming up here. And then we got food that we'll be talking about at 8:30 this morning with Chef Jean-Paul Bourgeois. Will be here at 8:30 this morning answering your food questions. I got a couple of them for Chef on some of the fish that we caught last week down in Port Fouchon on how you prepare some of the dishes. So we got a couple of seafood questions for the chef coming up at 8:30. If you have any other questions about your food, about how you prepare it, about how you serve it, how you cook it, get inside of the bunker and get in touch with us and ask your questions to Chef Jean-Paul Bourgeois. We will ask them coming up here at 8:30 this morning. Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered every day by Go Chevrolet. Go Chevrolet is proud to announce Go Express Auto Sales, the new used car lot located in the capital city of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, at 11522 Florida Boulevard. Go Express Auto Sales is online at goexpressautosales.com, or you can search them on Facebook and social media at Go Express Auto Sales, the newest addition to the family of Go Chevrolet. Remember, Go Chevrolet is located down in Laplace, Louisiana, but now welcoming aboard Go Express, the new used car lot located in Baton Rouge, Louisiana at 11522 Florida Boulevard.
Well, folks, it's time to kick it old school. So you can feel cool. Give it to me, baby. Baby. Yeah. Well, folks, it's time to kick it old school. So you can feel cool. Give it to me, baby. Baby. Yeah.
All right, welcome back here to the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet every single day. Make sure and check them out online at GEAUXchevrolet.com. Also powered by A-Bear Specialty Meats. Remember, over at A-Bear's, they serve lunch daily. Get in and stop in and see them. They're in Prairieville. They are located in Baton Rouge on Jefferson Highway, right next to Pearson's Luggage, which is going out of business and has a great sale happening right now. So stop in for lunch today over at A-Bear's and swing in next door to Pearson's. But the lunch specials at A-Bear's are fantastic every day. Check out the chili dogs, seafood po' boy, got a sausage po' boy, chicken salad sandwich. And while you're there, you can shop the freezer. Home of the deboned stuffed chicken. Got great hamburger patties already ground up for you. Steaks, all types of selections right there in the freezer to choose from. Whether you're in Prairieville or whether you're in Baton Rouge, stop in and see A-Bear Specialty Meats. They're on social media. You can find them all over the place. We'll have some tailgating packages that we'll be telling you about. We'll have tailgate packages prepared for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in the fall season. We'll have a duck and deer camp package ready for you to take to your hunting camps in the fall season, all coming up from A-Bear Specialty Meats. One in Baton Rouge, located on Jefferson Highway. The other one out in Prairieville in the Dutchtown Shopping Center that you can find right there off of the interstate. So stop in and see them there for A-Bear Specialty Meats, a fine sponsor and supporter here of the Jordy Culotta Show. All right, an hour down. We appreciate Jake Crane for stopping in here. Jboy talking about some SEC stuff. Jumped around the conference. He's got a great episode coming up today if you're looking to dive into some of the storylines around the West, like Brian Harsin at Auburn in the offseason, his first offseason heading into year one. Bill O'Brien and the impact that he's expected to make in Tuscaloosa with Bryce Young and that Alabama
works,
offense.
Oh, my God. It's coaching rehab if that works.
I mean, wait, how's it not going to work?
I
mean, you give these guys, you give these genius coaches, these experienced coaches, the pick of the litter of high school talent and college football talent, and you pretty much give them free reign. I mean, Lane Kiffin, Steve Sarkisian, I'd imagine Bill O'Brien, Lane. Really? In my opinion, I think that it took Sark a couple of tries to get it moving, and once he got it moving, he was great. And I think that Sark is he's got the reputation, he's got the mind for it. He's bright, he's a great play caller, he's obviously a great tutor of quarterbacks. But to me, Lane Kiffin is just so natural at it. He's able to be able to pick out mismatches immediately. He will abuse a mismatch. He will take your will away from wanting to play football again. He will embarrass you if he can.
And he's a great foil to Saban. Those two just clash.
Yes, absolutely.
You ever hear the media day? It was like one year they went to the college football playoff, and usually the OC can't talk, and the one time he can talk was in the college football playoff. And Kiffin was, what you got, boys?
Holding court.
Yeah.
Holding court. No, I think he gets that part of it better than just about anybody. Like I've said here before, he really realized he used to come on a radio show with us routinely. And I think it was because he was down in South Florida coaching that job, and he really just wanted to keep his name moving within SEC neighborhoods. He wanted to stay relevant within the SEC media fan base. And he knew what he was doing.
It's WWE. He knows how to put on a show.
Absolutely, and he doesn't mind being the heel.
Yeah, that's great.
Like he's fine and okay with people, not liking him. And I think that he's gotten past that in the sense of he doesn't have to do that anymore because he's back at a job that he's been trying to get back. But to me, he's the best play caller in college football. You can almost argue he might be the best play caller in football. I mean, I think he's up there with Sean Payton and Sean McVay and, some of the great play callers that we go to. Kyle Shanahan with the Giants.
Unreal.
Not the Giants, the 49ers. Those are just some of the top ones that come to mind when you think of play callers. And Lane Kiffin, to me, is in that mix. Your mailbag questions here every week. We answer them during this segment. You got a little music there we can bump into. Don't forget about Johnson and Spillers before we get to.
Talk about the mail. Can we talk about the mail, please?
Yeah, a little new ad.
All day, okay? I gotta go up to his office. I gotta put his mail in the guy's goddamn hands.
But they've been asking for their mail on a daily basis. It's all they're talking about up there.
Because the mail never stops. It just keeps coming and coming and coming. There's never a let up. It's relentless. Every day it piles up more and more and more, and you gotta get it up. And the more you get out, the more it keeps coming in. And then the barcode reader breaks, and it publishes clearinghouse.
All right.
I can't believe I'm gonna be a mailman.
So our Mailtime segment. I forgot that we had an intro for it.
Lloyd crushed it.
Yeah, Lloyd last week. Don't forget about Johnson and Spillers, our dentist over here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Stop in and see Dr. Chad Spillers. He's got a spot in Baton Rouge, and he's got a spot in Gonzales on Prepara Avenue in Gonzales over in Baton Rouge. You can find them on Perkins Road. They do everything. I was telling you, Kelly went and got some Botox there last week. I went and had my tooth extracted. I said they can do it all. Anything in that scale. Whether you need to replace a tooth, whether you just need a teeth cleaning, or you're interested in some Botox, check out our friends over at Johnson Spillers at johnsonspillers.com. All right, boys, you want to handle some of these mail questions here? You got a couple of them built up. Jack, you want to read them out?
One. Brian Chandler to you, #AskJordy. Yesterday, O hasn't mentioned Cardale Thomas. Still can't get it together. The mysterious case.
I think that anybody that is waiting on Cardale Thomas to be mentioned on a depth chart or be mentioned as a player that is going to make an impact, I just think you're going to continuously be let down. I mean, I think we've all gone through this Cardale Thomas, like where you feel like you just, where is he? I mean, like these just, does he exist? After his recruitment
Freak
and after
athlete.
the way, it's freak athlete. I mean, the way he can move and the way he can run, but I think he's been a little stiff since he came back from an ankle injury that he sustained early on in his career. That really has set him back. I don't think he's ever really gotten back to full strength, and this may be the fall camp.
Was it a broken ankle?
Yeah, it was like it was an ankle, but it was like kind of a freaky ankle injury where
It's gonna mess with your head though. Being that big,
Yeah, and it just never has gotten right for him. I pull for him because he's got great personality. He's very likable. He seemingly loved LSU in this recruiting class, if you can recall his recruitment. I mean, he was probably the centerpiece of that class a couple of years back. I mean, Ty Davis Price and John Emery and that group that came in here. Cardale Thomas was really kind of the face of that class coming in. So hopefully this is the fall. He's got a great opportunity because it seems like there is, there's playing time, if not starting playing time, but quality depth playing time where you could be a 6th, 7th guy on this offensive line because they just have so many questions on who's going to be next. So Thomas, if it's going to happen, right? Like, I mean, if he's going to make a move, if he's going to surge into the lineup, this would be the time where it has to happen. I mean, if it does not happen now, if it does not happen over the next couple of weeks, I would think that Cardale Thomas would seriously consider thinking about transfer portal. I mean, just for an opportunity, because if you can't crack it on this LSU offensive line, well, I mean,
God.
I don't know. I don't know what to tell you.
Tristan Lee recruitment is like, you want to play now and be the man?
Yeah, I mean, if you're an LSU offensive lineman and playing time is crucial to you, like that's one of the big things for your recruit. I don't know how you couldn't come to LSU.
Man,
I mean, like, you want a starting spot in the SEC?
Yeah, we got you.
All right, cool. Come to LSU.
It's like
Look at our offensive line from 2019.
Right.
Coupon, man.
Perfect.
Next mailbag question from Jimmy James. Kind of want to say Jimmy John's on his name. At Mailbag, how many of the young bucks are still in school, and how's your upcoming semester looking? Noah, you want to go?
For us? I'll be a sophomore next year at LSU, and I don't know how the semester is looking. I don't know if we'll be on campus, not on campus.
Such
but
a bummer, bro.
I'll be here, so that's all I'm worried about.
Yeah, I'm going into the final rodeo senior year. I kind of hope it's on the hybrid because I had a whole year of cheating in school. I mean, it was just free real estate.
What do you mean, like in class or like
No,
with the,
school.
It's
the
just at
class was
home with the online.
and
Yeah,
they would
yeah,
say
absolutely.
the test is online. They don't proctor and just Google the whole thing.
Damn.
Right?
But sometimes
fail
they do
anything?
proctor.
God, no.
Okay. Just making sure,
We'd
bro.
have to try.
Just making sure.
But I can't go back to the
making
testing
sure.
center. Can't go back. Let's see what's the next mailbag question.
Golly, what a luxury.
Oh, it was amazing. Ask Jordy from Jeff, who will be the biggest breakout star for LSU and the Saints?
For LSU, it's tough to go away from Jack Besh when you
Yeah.
just think of a name that you're not talking about or somebody that you may not be thinking of. I really think that Besh is going to be kind of this breakout guy, or just the name on the offense that you're like, by week 3, you're expecting him to make plays. You know, I think he'll have that type of impact because they're looking for a second guy, right? They're looking for a trusted guy that can be a playmaker, somebody that has good chemistry with the quarterback. And if you're watching Max Johnson's social media, every workout that he posts, Jack Besh is there, and every workout that Besh is posting, he's working out with Max Johnson. So not only is Besh one of the premier athletes on this team, he's pretty smart, because he's buddying up with the starting quarterback, and he's building chemistry and is kind of being that security blanket for him here in the summertime that can carry over in the fall. So I think Besh in for LSU, but watch out for names.
I'm thinking Mike Jones. I know he hasn't played yet, but I think just big, wow, that's a security blanket on defense.
And I was going to say some defensive names to watch out for is Mike Jones for sure. Savion Smith. Am I saying, is it Savion Jones? Is it Savion Jones?
Yeah.
Savion, I keep saying, I forget which one, but Savion Jones out of St. James is obviously is also a name to watch. Major Burns, at defensive back. Yeah, I think Farrell is. You know him.
I think he's solidified.
Yeah, I mean, you know him.
I was thinking Jay Ward.
Jay Ward could be
the
one.
safety switch is going to help him out a lot.
Cardell Flott
Yep.
is another one. I think that those guys have potential to really break out. Be every single Saturday you hear their name routinely. I think guys like Savion Jones, guys like Bryce Langston, who's a true freshman in this class, who's really going to play. Mason Smith is going to play a lot of football for LSU, so he could be a breakout guy.
Jaquelin Roy.
Jaquelin Roy is the same. I mean, they really expect him to take an All-American type step.
Wow.
In between his freshman. I mean, look at the last 3 games from last season.
I mean,
at times he looked unblockable. And then for the Saints, this may not be a breakout star because they used him at wide receiver a little bit last year. But Deontay Harris seems like he's going to be a guy that is one of their top targets, especially with the stuff with Mike Smith. I mean, with Mike Thomas. With Mike Thomas being out for a for however amount of time that he's going to miss with the foot surgery. That may be a lazy choice because I mean he's been there, but I think his input feels like it's going to go up. His productivity
more than just punt return.
Yeah, a lot more in punt return.
I got Hogan. I think just because he runs a great route, it's a security blanket. And old Jameis would try and say, "Screw it, let's throw it deep." But I think he's smarter now, and it's just do the easy downtown pass and get someone like Hogan. So,
what was the tight end's name out of Dayton last year? Who was the rookie? It seems like he is going.
Troutman.
Yes, Troutman.
I've heard
Adam Troutman. Adam Troutman is also a name that you could potentially watch for a breakout star because I mean he's the man now. What I mean?
I was thinking on defense, Peyton Turner, the rookie. I think I've heard a lot of good things about where he is already. My big one was Chauncey Gardner-Johnson because he's not going to be as much of a nickel guy. He's actually going to get to play straight up coverage. So I think he'll have a big impact.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are good names to watch there. But Adam Troutman of somebody that you're probably not hearing about or thinking about, him becoming a full-time starter and every down tight end for this Saints squad could be somebody that has a real breakout season.
I know we were talking about breakout, but the next question was how big of a jump does the defense take this season? And who do you see being the breakout player on the defensive side of the ball?
Well, I think the defense is going to be great. I think the defense is championship level great. First off, they've got a lot of depth on the defensive line. And I'm talking about guys
7-8, right?
Yeah, when you're talking about guys like Bryce Langston being a player and Mason Smith going to play. I mean, I think that those are probably two pieces that they thought were going to be gravy going into the season. I don't think you can ever count on a true freshman. But after seeing Mason Smith in the spring, after seeing the return on Langston here early on, and you've got guys like B.J. Ujulari, who's coming back for another season. Ali Gay's expected to have a breakout, really kind of solidify himself as a first-round type pick season. We were mentioning Jaquelin Roy. Neil Farrell is back in the mix. I mean, we're not even talking about Glenn Logan.
Right. He's been here forever.
He's been here forever. He's a veteran. He's a guy that has a ton of experience, and you're really not even talking about him. So I think the defense is great. The additions of Mike Jones and Bug Strong at the defensive second level to go alongside guys like Damone Clark and Micah Baskerville. I think that you're solid at the second level. I think that you're okay there. I mean, I think that was a position of concern last year going into the offseason, and they really did an incredible job of addressing that and restoring some players. I think Bug Strong is absolutely going to be a player. I think Mike Jones is going to be a starter. And I think that Damone Clark is not going to struggle as much as he did last year. I have to see it to before I say he's going to be steady at that position, but I don't think that he will struggle as much as he did in Pelini's scheme. And then Baskerville is going to be a player. And I think they got the best defensive backfield in the country.
The DBs
does it even matter who plays at safety when you talk about Ricks and Stingley being back there? And I think that they're confident in their safety play. I think that they were concerned about it, but you move Jay Ward, and Jay Ward is going to be a guy that they like back there just because, I mean, he's a solid player. And it sounds like Major Burns has made a big impact. I mean, anytime you can bring somebody over with SEC experience that can immediately play, he's going to be back there. We haven't talked about Todd Harris.
What about Dwight? No one talks about Dwight.
Nobody's talking about Dwight McLaughlin, who played really well down the stretch last season.
Looked good in the spring
and
game.
Then, I mean, you got the best. You got two of the top three. I think it was like two. I mean, wasn't Derek Davis the third-ranked safety in the country? Sage Ryan was number one.
Yes.
So you got two of the top three safeties in the nation in Davis and Sage Ryan. And then Matthew Langlois is back there as well. So, I mean, they really feel like they're okay. They got enough guys. They got enough players. And if you're asking for one breakout guy, I'd go with the guy that Noah mentioned a couple of minutes back. It was probably going to be Jay Ward. You know what I mean? Of just somebody on this defense. I mean, Ricks is not going to break. You know who Ricks is. You know who Stingley is. You know who Roy is. You know who Ujulari is. You know who all these guys are, you know, that have played meaningful snaps. I think, you know, Jay Ward, we've seen him, but we've seen him as a corner. We've seen him as a nickel. Now if he's your every down safety, if he's playing every play, you know, I think you can see just how good of a football player he is when he's on the field, down in, down out. So a breakout guy, I would look at either him or Major Burns.
Yeah, I know the secondary is so great, but kind of in this modern day of football, it's so pass heavy, and you kind of lose the trench warfare. You forget how good, impactful, great D-line is. Look at the Super Bowl this year. Instantly, 5 minutes into the game, the Chiefs realize, oh no,
we can't block them. We can't block them. Yeah, we can't block them.
And we're running 8 deep fresh legs.
That's the difference between LSU and Alabama.
Yeah,
this 11, 12 year war that Alabama has dominated. LSU's only won one game out of that mix, and you know you got to take the best player that you've ever had into Tuscaloosa to win that game. The difference year in, year out is that LSU just can't block them. They can't. I mean, think about Burrow's first game versus Alabama. I mean, they were picking offensive linemen up and throwing them into the backfield.
I mean, Leonard Fournette's Heisman season. You can't even
running into a wall. You know, I mean, they're just you can't block them, and that's the difference. And when you can't block guys, to me, that's going to be the LSU UCLA difference.
Yeah,
like that's to me that's the difference in LSU UCLA is that UCLA, if you're keeping up with UCLA, they're really touting that the strength of their team is the offensive line. And the strength of the offensive line is that they return a lot of guys who have played a lot of snaps. I think like they return seven of their top offensive linemen are coming back. So they've got depth and they've got experience. But those guys have never blocked Ali Gay.
It's different.
Right. They've never blocked
Joe.
Jaquelin Roy. I mean, they get their hands on Roy within the first 3 minutes of that game come September 4th, and I guarantee you the majority of the offensive line from UCLA is thinking, oh, shit.
It's going to be a rude awakening.
You know what I mean? Like, this isn't Pac-12 football. You know what I mean? This isn't Oregon State.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This isn't your typical Saturday in the Pac-12. I mean, those cats are just going to be different. And I think that's the difference in LSU this season. I think that's why LSU really is a championship contender, is because they got a championship defense.
Yeah.
Great question from Colby. Do you believe with a good season, Durante Kirkland could be the next Russell Gage type breakout guy in the NFL? Kirkland did have 200 yards in the spring game.
No doubt, and he's that type of athlete. I mean, Gage did everything at his high school. John Trey Kirkland was the same way. I mean, he did everything at St. James. Gage didn't come on until late at LSU. I mean, he really didn't pop until his final year and a half in Baton Rouge. So, possibly because I think LSU is synonymous with having athletes that are not hidden, but just, behind freakier athletes.
Right.
I mean, I'm looking at what I'm looking and watching what Mike Vrabel is saying about Racey McMath.
Right.
I mean, like, he's got a comment about Racey McMath every single day. If you're keeping up, I get Titans alerts on things that pop up because of just what's going on with Racey and some of the things. I mean, I just like following the Titans and have over the last couple of years. Detillier was working for them, which kind of moved me in that direction. But, I mean, it's every single day. Vrabel is talking about how either Racey McMath is fun to coach,
right,
or how he just has got a great motor, or how he's a freak athlete, or
Can't
how
help but put him out
I mean,
there.
it's like one of those guys. Yeah, he's like, I mean, I guess Racey could do it.
You can't.
They're like talking about who's going to be the gunner.
athlete.
They're like, who's going to be the gunner? He's like, I don't know. We're working a couple of guys out, but I mean, I guess McMath would probably be the first. You know what I mean? Just because he's the freakiest of athletes.
Yeah.
I mean, he's on an NFL team, and you're like, this guy went to LSU?
Jacoby Stevens is such a good gunner.
Yeah, Jacoby Stevens.
Such a good gunner.
Right.
Jacoby Stevens. I mean, he's in a locker room full of freaks. These guys stand out. I mean, James Wright. James Wright was a guy that I think he caught 2 passes at LSU. He covered kicks for 8 years in the league. I mean, Russell Gage is another great example of that, of guys that just, they're kind of hidden, or you forget about them at LSU if you're a scout or a national guy, but then you start doing a little homework and you're like, damn, I mean, I guess he was just playing behind Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. I mean, what are you going to do?
Yeah, and John Trey has potential to pop.
Yeah,
I mean,
good.
he's got that type of breakaway speed, and
Pop that quarterback.
the wide receiver room is kind of open. You got Kayshawn at the top, and then that number 2 spot. There's a bunch of names floating around, and John Trey can fill it in.
I know Kayshawn. I mean, it's already like we know who Kayshawn Butte is, but going back to the breakout, just more of a breakout, being like, yeah, this kid is so.
He's just going to solidify himself.
He's playing on Sundays.
Yes. No, I think
kid's a freak.
he's too good of an athlete. I mean, the NFL look at people like John Trey Kirkland and Racey McMath of get him in.
Yeah, please,
we'll figure it
just-
out. I mean, we'll figure it out. Just put him on the team. I mean, get him on the roster and let us deal with it. Next question. What we got? Did I see one on Walker Howard?
Let me pull that one.
Andrew Messina asked Jordy with Walker Howard on his way to LSU to add to the quarterback room. How difficult will that conversation be for O to tell Brennan that he needs to transfer? I would imagine that Miles Brennan is competent enough to see that.
The writing on the wall.
I would expect that conversation not to be as difficult as we expect it to be. I mean, look, from my personal standpoint, I was surprised to see Brennan on this roster. Really. I thought that he would have said, you know what? My experience is what it is at LSU. I thought that it would have worked out a little bit better than this, but it didn't. This is the hand that I was dealt. I'm good enough to make NFL throws. Let me go see if somebody takes a chance on me. And like I've said before, I mean, you look at the 32 teams and what they trot out every Sunday at quarterback. Think about their backups. Some of them have third-team players. There's no way, in my opinion, that there are 64 better quarterbacks on this planet than Miles Brennan as far as being able to throw the ball, just specifically throw it. I mean, if one of the top skills that you need from the quarterback position is arm strength, accuracy, and delivery, Miles Brennan can do that for you all day long.
I think the Colts would take him now.
If you protect him, they would. If you protect him and you keep him upright, he can make every throw you want. So from an NFL standpoint, I thought that he would have looked at that, looked at LSU, looked at Max Johnson, at the time TJ Finley, Garrett Nussmeier coming in and saying, you know what, do I want to do this again? Another summer, go through whether or not you're going to be the player, go through fall where it's competition, and the possibility that you might lose out and not play again. You know what? Let me just go take that chance and go get paid for it. Just go to the NFL and pick up a league minimum check of $800K a year or whatever it is.
I'll take that.
I mean, to hold a clipboard?
Yeah, I think I could do that.
You know what I mean? So I was surprised to see him on this team. If you add Walker Howard to the mix after a season, let's say Max Johnson comes out and performs this year, which I expect him to do. Let's say Johnson is possibly like a second-team All-SEC type quarterback this season. Not to say he's an All-American or even a first-team All-SEC guy, but he has a really solid year as a starter. If you're an LSU fan, it very much makes you excited looking into the future with the possibility of Max Johnson as your quarterback going into, veteran years for him in his college tenure. And then you add the best quarterback in America to that room. Garrett Nussmeier's a year older, probably got some good experience under his belt if everything works out for him in his freshman season where Johnson stays healthy, but they can give Nussmeier the reps during, blowout type games or games that are out of touch. I just can't. I wouldn't. It would be tough for me to see Miles Brennan looking at that scenario and saying, I want back in. But he could, because the way that I was described on why he's on this roster is because it's always been his lifelong goal and want to be LSU's quarterback. So, who the hell am I to tell the guy to give up on that?
Someone just said Miles to the XFL. You torch him.
I mean, if he wanted to come back, I guess, I could see it, but I don't envision a scenario where Brennan would look at that room and say, I want back in. I just don't think. I think that the ball is rolling too fast down the hill with momentum of it's time to look into the future of LSU's quarterbacks. And that's the back end of Max Johnson's career. That's Garrett Nussmeier, and that's Walker Howard. And it would shock me. It would floor me if Miles Brennan looked at that scenario and said, I'm going back. It would surprise me a lot. Any more questions?
I think one more just came in. Which wide receiver should the Saints make a trade for?
I mean, I'm trying to think of the wide receivers on the market right now, or potentially on the market.
I don't know if I really even see them making another move.
I heard Cooks, Brandon Cooks.
I don't know because they signed Hogan, they got Tommy Lee Lewis, and then there's Traquan and Callaway. I don't know if I see them really going out there to make that move anymore. I feel like it's just. I don't know. I don't see them making a trade or getting rid of anything just for a receiver.
It seems like and look, they just made a move for Quan Alexander and signing him to a 1-year, $3 million deal. They don't have a lot to play with as far as the cap goes. I mean, they would have to really, really get creative in trying to make some room for another. I'm not even saying a big time player. I'm saying an average player that they need at wide receiver. I mean, this Mike Thomas thing, the more you read into it, has really set them back. I mean, I don't know what happened with Mike Thomas and the organization, Mike Thomas and Sean Payton's relationship, but the fact that they're sitting in this scenario right now is I can't believe I really the more you read in on this,
Is it like the Scottie Pippen? Just I'll get my
feels like it. But
Yeah,
but
but
Scottie
that's not the
Pippen
money.
was
It was
Scottie
money.
Pippen was holding out, and he was making that move because he felt underappreciated and underpaid, which he should have at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he really should have. I mean, even though he signed the contract, I mean,
They
at
were
that
waiting for him to
point he had I mean, just upset. I mean, just amazingly overperformed it. You know what I mean? And anybody that has, some at least respectable business sense would have said, hey, look, man, this contract didn't make any sense. Let's come up with something that makes sense for both teams. And Pippen tried to have that conversation, and when Reinsdorf and Krause shut him down, he was like, you know what then? I mean, I'm gonna have a good summer.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have some fun. And whether that's right or wrong, we can debate that, but that's not what this Mike Thomas situation is. Mike Thomas, the highest paid wide receiver in the league. I mean, the Saints have respected him. The Saints have paid him. The Saints have given him, everything nearly that he's asked for. And look, man, I'm usually pro player. I'm not pro organization. I usually see the player side on it, and I stand up for the players, or usually side with the players. It's tough to take Mike Thomas's position on this, man. I mean, it really is. It's like, Mike, man, you wanted the money, you got the money. You wanted to be a leader in the locker room, that's what you're viewed as. You want the respect as being one of the top performers in the league at your position. A lot of people don't make a list without you in the top 3. Why didn't you have the surgery on time?
So he just delayed the ankle surgery?
He delayed it a month. And so he's going to miss a month of action, which is really, I mean, can't we argue from a wide receiver standpoint, you're going to miss the first month of the season and you're on an ankle?
Right.
And we got to wait for you to get right. I mean, we're talking
here,
week
bro.
10, 11.
Right.
Before you're really even mentally thinking you could be right. You might not even be right by that time.
That's why I don't even see like a trade or anything. Like why commit that to this season? Like just play it.
Yeah, or even just put him on the shelf.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's just like, I mean, I don't, depending on what you're playing for at that time, or depending on what you're waiting on, that Thomas situation has got him in a bind, man.
Once you become a top 3 wide receiver, it melts your mind.
They are in a bind. They're in a spot now at that position. Daily, we're brought to you by AdvantaClean. Remember, ADVANTA clean.com. AdvantaClean. Get in touch with Bradley Lynch and his crew. Water, fire, or mold damage, if you got it. Get in touch with AdvantaClean. First-hand testimony. We flooded a couple of months ago, and AdvantaClean was the first call we made. Bradley Lynch was here. He got in touch with the construction company, with the insurance company, took care of all of that, and took the headaches out of our hands. Let AdvantaClean help you out today. ADVANTA clean.com. A healthy Tyrus Thomas just walked into the UDL. That's great to see, as our friend is recovering, or now in recovery. And we will also talk to the chef, Sean Paul Bourgeois, coming up here about your food question. T's going to sit in on the set. We'll talk some basketball. Garrett Temple back home with the New Orleans Pelicans. We will talk to his friend, lifelong friend, about G House ended up with the Pelicans in free agency over the last couple of days here in the NBA Newswire. All coming up as we close out the Jordy Culotta Show, coming up here, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. Welcome back. Jordy Culotta Show rolling here on this Wednesday. Remember, check out the new website, jordyculottashow.com. They got a testimonial section, and one of the testimonials is from my great friend, Tyrus Thomas, who I've been knowing for nearly 15 years now, over 15 years. And got a great testimonial from him as he's a part of the show now, and we love that, as he's one of the great guys in our community from Baton Rouge who cares about the city. He's always giving back to the city. He's over there at Liberty High School. Is it
Yes,
Liberty High
Liberty.
School on Lee Drive, formerly Lee High, as he is one of the basketball coaches over there. And we welcome him back here to the set on the Jordy Culotta Show, coming off of an ankle injury that he sustained in pickup basketball over the last couple of weeks. NBA free agency, you hear NBA free agency. What are the vibes that you get from that after being in that league and being a part of that process? Is it a cool process? Is it a stressful process? What is that timeline like?
I think everybody's process is different. I only went through one free agency, so and it was kind of, I knew I wanted to be at the time I wanted to stay in Charlotte. Right. So for me it was an easy decision. I already had we already had the core group of the guys that was there. At the time we had Raymond Felton, we had Steve Jackson, Gerald Wallace, Tyson Chandler.
Oh wow, I remember that team.
Right. So
I remember that team.
When it was time for me to resign, I'm like, I actually had larger offers than
Charlotte.
The preliminary deals, I had some guys that were gonna offer me more, but I kind of I wanted to stay where I was. I've always been just a guy that wanted to win, and so when I got traded in 2010 from Chicago to Charlotte, I think we might have been like 18 or 19 games out of the playoffs, something like that. Don't quote me, but it was almost 20 games out of the playoffs, and that was in like February, maybe, I think, right before All-Star break. And with that group of guys we had, it was Raymond Felton, Steve Jackson, Gerald Wallace, Boris Diaw. I was coming off the bench. Boris Diaw. I was coming off the bench behind Boris Diaw. Tyson Chandler, and we had Theo Ratliff. We brought in Larry Hughes. He came around the time I came. And so, that core, DJ Augustine. So it was like those 8. Like that was the 8-man rotation. It was Ray, Jack, G-Dub, Bo.
Practices must have been a street fight.
Tyson Chandler, Theo, Larry, DJ, myself. So it was like a 9-man rotation. And so we went from like, when I got traded, like we like 19, we were out of the playoffs bad. And with that group of guys, we made it to the playoffs. We got swept by Orlando. They went to the conference.
Was that Glenn?
No. That was Dwight Howard, Rashard Lewis. That was
the finals.
That was the finals Orlando team.
Right.
But in my mind, that group of guys played together for like 2.5, 3 months, and we did what we did. We got us back into playoff contention. And I think that was the first time that the franchise had been to. Yeah,
that was probably the Bobcats' best team up to that point.
That was the best team, and it's crazy because within not even 180 days, that team was dismantled. And so I was pissed because
you stayed.
I stayed, and I was like the last one left.
Wow.
But so I didn't experience free agent like most guys do. But it's always a weird time. Every summer you kind of waiting for free agency to start, and you wait and watch how rosters blow up, man.
Yeah.
How other ones are assembled, and it's just like, okay, this is what we're gonna do. So this is what the league look like this year. All right, bet.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy as a fan. I can't imagine like how crazy that is to actually be in the league while it's happening.
I know, because people, you from a fan's point of view, you're like, look at all these moves. Look how crazy this is. Like PJ Tucker's leaving Milwaukee, going to Miami. It just the money that's being thrown around, but you don't think about you got to pick up and move the livelihoods. Everything that's just doing all that stuff.
I didn't want to move again.
Yeah.
Like my trade was crazy because we were on the road when I got traded, and I never forget. I was in Minnesota, went to film, getting ready to go to the Buster shoot around, and they're like, "Man, you're getting traded. You got to fly to Charlotte." So I'm just like, all right, cool. Like, it ain't nothing you can do about it.
Right. What am I going to do?
Literally nothing. What am I going to do? There's nothing you can do about it. So I'm like,
do?
all right, cool. So this bag that I got packed for like 2 days, I'm like, all right, on day 2, now I'm ready to go back home, but I fly to Charlotte, I play that night, but that was the first night of a back-to-back home away. So when I got to Charlotte, that day, and it was like a Thursday maybe. I get to Charlotte that Thursday afternoon. I meet the team. I get my jersey. I play, no practice, no nothing.
Wow.
And then we fly on a plane back to Milwaukee. So when I get to Milwaukee, I had a car waiting on me to drive me to Chicago to go get some clothes. I had just one bag. I had one bag. Like I planned for a 2-day trip, and I got traded in the middle of that trip. So I literally got a 2-day bag. Like, sometimes we carry bags under the plane. For 2 days, I got a bag. I'm taking a little bag. I got drawers.
So do they put you up in Charlotte, or they expect you? Okay.
Nah, so whenever you get traded like that, they give you a grace period.
Okay.
And for how late it was in the season, I just stayed at the hotel the rest of the year. And so that was like fly to Charlotte on a new team, play, fly to Milwaukee, drive to Chicago, get my stuff, and we were on the road for like another 3 or 4 games. So it was wild.
Did you buy your place in Chicago?
Yeah, I actually had 2 places. I had a condo downtown, and then the Bulls were still practicing in Deerfield at the time, so I had a house in the north suburbs as well.
Wow. So what happens with all of that stuff?
Yeah,
like when you're what happens?
You call a realtor,
and you just say it's in your hands.
Look, I need you to sell it. I'm out of here. Let me know when you got something, and then everything. This was before a DocuSign and stuff, so it was still fax it to the office.
Wow.
So
how do you play a game in the middle of the season when they trade you?
You put on another jersey and you play. It's just like pickup almost.
Right. Yeah.
Right. You go from shirts to skins. All right. I'm on shirts now.
And they've got no expectation for you to know where you're supposed to be, right? Like I mean, like when you put you out there.
So I tell you, like once you get to that level, it's almost like
a lot of the systems are the same.
It's just go by different names.
Okay.
So you might got floppy or stack, same thing.
Right.
And it's only, man, at that level, it's only so much that you can do when the ball is in certain spots.
Sure.
So once you understand, and you play the team so much, you like the scouting reports are crazy. So it's not hard.
Yeah.
It's not hard. Now,
you're a professional.
Right.
I mean, like at that point, you're a professional. Right. Like I mean, you're an expert of that field.
So it's literally like the questions you ask. Well, I ask. Hey, what y'all call a stack of floppy? Y'all call it chest 2, or you kind of, and you just figure out the terminology. Okay. So when I'm here, Vinny called it stack. Larry Brown called it floppy. You know what I'm saying? So now I know when I hear floppy, I go to what I knew as stack.
Right.
Some people call it 2 chests, which you got the guy running across the so it's it's all the
just different terms,
terminology. And then you get down to the nitty gritty when you get to the underneath, out of bounds, and out of timeouts. Now that's when it's going to be something drawn up, specific. Yeah. And then if you're in the heat of the game, it's not even what the play is. What do I do here? Right. You're looking at somebody.
Right. Screen his guy.
Screen away, pass, double screen, stagger, boom. All right, cool.
Right.
You figure it out later.
Sure.
So it's, at that point you're a professional. Gotcha. So it's.
I love seeing Garrett Temple move around Baton Rouge now here in the offseason. I saw him working out up at Traction. I saw him at the Hometown Heroes basketball clinic that was a couple of weeks back over at the Sports Academy, and now he's going to play in New Orleans as one of his childhood friends. I know I felt great for him. I sent him a text. How cool is that for him to get that 3-year deal?
And hopefully he lasts more than 3 years, but especially, he's on the tail end of his career.
Yep.
And to be able to be at home, especially, he got a newborn,
right?
Little Tutu.
Yeah, 2.
That's my man. But having, being closer to that, to home, especially with him starting a family now, man, it has to be, a more, and he's still, like we talking about the ugly sides of the league, things can happen, but to be able to try to control their destiny and write that story and finish it back home where it started, I'm pretty sure that's a great feeling.
As soon as we talked about this yesterday, as soon as he signed, my instant reaction was, look, you're not getting maybe the player on the floor to have the impact, but the impact that he could have in the locker room on a young team is something that you said. I remember you saying on this couch a couple of weeks back that you wish you would have had in the league. Just an older guy, a mentor, somebody to teach you how to, hey man, you got to pay your taxes. You got to do this.
And I had some good guys around me. Ben Wallace, PJ Brown, Joe Smith, Adrian Griffin, Lindsey Hunter. you know, I had some great vets. It just was my teams got shifted so much and so often
Right.
that we never had time to really form that relationship that made it last, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Like P.J. Brown was just there for a year. Ben Wallace there a year and a half. Joe Smith, I don't even think he made it there a full year. Lindsey was like the longest, and it was like 2 years. And you know, so you know, I had an opportunity to play with some great vets. I just the time frame wasn't, you know, enough to have that full impact.
That's one of those things in a professional's career, especially in a young career, that's probably undervalued, right? I mean, the mentorship, just somebody that can take you under their wing and say, hey, man, this is how you're a pro.
Yeah, especially for a guy like me. I was a little bit off the Richter. And a lot of it.
You were so young, bro.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
I still had so many chips on my shoulder just from, you know, my life experiences. And so, you know, those guys, and even when those guys got traded and like when they didn't re-sign, when PJ didn't re-sign, and I think he sat out for the first half of the next season, then he wound up in Boston. He won a ring with Boston. You know, I was happy for him winning the ring. And then Ben Wallace got traded. You know, it kind of affected me because those guys were the guys that were actually holding me together. You know, like I would literally eat at Ben's and PJ Brown's house. Like my first 2 years, first year and a half, especially PJ and his wife, they took me in my first year.
They're
like,
Louisiana natives, right? Yeah.
You know, PJ and D Brown, man, I'm so appreciative to the lessons that they did teach me.
Yeah.
You know, like literally, like PJ called young fella, man, come eat. You know, like I'd be at home, he'd give me a call, like come eat.
He could feel it.
He could feel it.
Yeah.
You know, and so when he didn't resign, that really hurt me. Because I didn't understand the business yet as well either. Yeah. So, you know, I grew up my whole life playing with pretty much the same core group of guys.
Right.
You know, from Biddy to AAU, you know, I played with the same guys, college, you know, most of my life. So when that started happening, I didn't understand the business side of it, and it affected me personally, emotionally.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, so, but those guys are definitely undervalued for what they do for the younger guys and how they are the ones that really, you know, they keep the culture of the league alive.
Yeah.
You know,
absolutely.
And that's a whole nother conversation.
I mean, I heard Garrett Temple's name before he was signed by the Pelicans, by Woj, Shams, all of the NBA insiders talking about the game on nearly every team. Like the Lakers, like they were talking about, Garrett Temple would fit.
Right.
Talking about the Clippers, Garrett Temple would fit. Talking about the Heat, Garrett Temple would fit. I mean, what his reputation is in that league, and the value that he seems to carry with his name in year 11.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, just the general public doesn't understand what it takes to be a great organization. And you know, so I make sure I don't listen to or I don't hear the Garrett Temple rumble, especially when it's in a negative light, because I take it personal.
Yeah. But my point is that I don't want to ever hear anything negative about him.
You know, well, I mean, like, you know, some guys.
Well, I saw Kyrie talk shit about him.
Shit like that.
Yeah,
but
That's Kyrie.
Yeah, fuck Kyrie.
Yeah.
You know, but I mean, because people don't understand, so they might question, like, man, what is he doing to stay around? They don't understand the value,
the intangibles.
They don't understand what it means to work as a team and what goes into having a team and what, you know, what it takes for an organization to be successful. So it's hard for them to see. But those people that understand and the people that's in it and make the decisions, they know.
Yeah.
You know, they understand. So when I have a guy who, you know, our locker room is like, that's how we grew up. Hey, man, if you my partner, I got to get on you when you wrong.
Sure.
You know, a lot of guys don't like that. So you get the, you know, I make X amount of dollars. You're not supposed to tell me nothing. Well, where we from, we men.
Yeah.
We don't care about what's in your pocket.
Right,
you know what I'm saying? Like, because we men. It don't matter who you are, what you look like, or what you have. I'm a man, and I'm going to treat you like a man, and you're going to treat me like a man. You know, and a lot of GMs understand the importance of having a man in the locker room. You know, a lot of these guys are, you know, highly paid. A lot of these guys aren't men. You know, and they understand the value of having a man in the locker room.
Absolutely. That 2016, your college Final Four team, your redshirt freshman year, was the first team that I had ever seen the locker room run like y'all ran the organization. Like there was no beef that spilled out into the floor.
None of that.
There was no drama that came out of that. Now there was drama in the locker room. There was a ton of. I mean, I saw some stuff up close.
Like, but
y'all handled that stuff so.
Like you not going because we were brothers.
Yeah.
We were brothers. At the end of the day, we were brothers. You know, so this ain't nobody else's beef. You know, there's been times me and Glenn came to blows at practice. Like and after that. We walk into the calf together, you know, and nobody talking about it. Like it's over with, it's done. Right. You know, it's been times where I was tripping and Flesh get on my ass. Yeah. And it is what it is, and you know, after that, it's done. Like because we all knew that we had each other's best interests. And y'all
were in it for the same. Y'all wanted it. Y'all all wanted the same thing.
Reason. So you know, there's been times where Flesh got T, you tripping. You know,
you need to calm down, man. You need to calm down.
Man, you tripping, like you know, but we all had that respect for each other as young men at the time, and we still have the same respect for each other as men now, you know. And so, you know, it was a lot, but we all had the same goal. So like nobody was gonna ever hear about, you know, us getting into it at practice ever. Like nobody ever. You know, that's not nobody else's business.
It never made the news.
It never made the news,
and people wouldn't have hidden that. Like nobody would have hidden that story.
No, it's like
if they'd have gotten their hands on it, they'd have run with it.
Glenn walking through with his ripping his shirt off, and we, you know, and it's like
mother effing everybody,
everybody, you know, or I'm kicking over the scoreboard and. Like just it was crazy. It was like it was wild.
I mean, like the head coach
it was
and the
wild.
It was star player face to face.
You know,
I mean,
like,
it was
and we never even to Coach Brady's credit, it's like times with me and Coach Brady here, Glenn and Coach Brady here, even D. Mitch and Coach Brady here. Yeah. But even Coach, he ain't take none of that personal.
Never.
None of that. Like
he never did. Yep.
It's over with. It's done. Like we here, we gone, we on to the next.
It was the first time in my life I had ever seen that in person and thought to myself, this is what a good team is. Like this is what good teams do. Like they don't let the bullshit affect them. Like it just doesn't get to them. And the reason why is because they police themselves.
There's a story.
Like you got some people in this locker room that, hey fellas, I know you got plans at 8 o'clock, but we ain't leaving until we figure it out.
There's a story. Bobby Hurley threw a ball straight in Christian Leitner's face, started bleeding, and then he just tackled him, punched him.
Yeah.
And they fought, and Coach K's like, "You guys done?" Like, yeah. All right, let's play.
Let's go on like that. And you know that's not behavior that you condone.
Right.
But man, when you passionate about something, man, I want to win. I want to win. You want to win. I don't feel like you doing enough. You don't feel like I'm doing enough. We don't feel like we doing enough. Like you gonna have that. And guess what? We're gonna go out here and we're gonna do enough.
Right. Yep.
And we're gonna get this dub.
Absolutely.
You know. So that was the makeup of that team, and you know.
Yeah, that's why. I mean, that's why that really is probably the formula. That's the ingredient of the formula that made them just overcome everything. Yeah. I mean, they never felt like they were beat. I saw you were remembering draft night on your Instagram, and I know that was such a special night for you, and that happened over the last week. Can you take me back to that, and then what the experience for somebody like Cam Thomas was to hear his name called and to go to a team for the first time as a professional? What that moment is like in your life?
Yeah, it was weird for me because I still am, and even then I was horrible with just being sociable. You know, it was weird as hell. Mm-hmm. And so like I actually didn't even want to go to the draft. Mm-hmm. Like I wanted to stay at home. I wanted to just do the whole family thing. Just because it was too much. It was just too much. It
just
was too
wasn't
much
you.
For me. Yeah, that's not me. Like, you know, however, the post I did make is because I would never take away from, you know, how special that night is.
Sure.
You know, my own feelings are my own feelings just based on my DNA and my makeup. But, you know, that night, it still was special for me. It was special for my family. You know, it was amazing to be able to hear my name called, to be able to walk on that stage, shake David Stern's hand, you know, and be able to have my family and friends, rejoicing, and you know, I still hear people like, man, we remember watching the draft, hearing your name called, and it was just very exciting, you know. And so, you know, that was great, you know, for all of those young guys, you know, and I kind of reference it every year around draft time. It's just, you know, just love the game, and the game gonna love you back, you know.
Kids see it. That could be me one day.
Exactly. You know, exactly.
Do you remember watching the draft as a kid? Do you remember like the first time that the NBA made an impact on your life? Do you?
I never. Yeah, I mean, I never really watched the draft, but I was a big. I mean, as a kid, I watched more college basketball than I did NBA ball.
Sure.
You know, I think one, because all we could watch was the Bulls on like WGN, and then at the time when I was younger, I can't remember when the Hornets moved here.
Like Baron Davis, so that was like 2002,
2002,
yeah, 2002. Yeah.
You know, so by that time I was already in high school. So I think, like, you know, I didn't have much. I watched college because, you know, on the weekend, like, college games come on all day.
Fans.
Yeah, so like I could remember like being in the backyard wanting to be Joe Smith. So like when he came to the Bulls, it was like, man, I used to want to be you.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like, I don't know why I was a big Maryland fan. Like Joe Smith,
Was that Juan Dixon and them?
Steve Blake, like, you know, like Byron Mouton. Like I don't know why I was a Maryland fan. I always was a Maryland fan.
Yeah, those teams were good, man.
But you know, it's like I never really watched it. So I watched the Bulls. The Olympics what was made a big impact in my life as far as basketball. And you know, watching the Dream Team just dominate. Like that was
business.
That was, you know, because you get to watch everybody. You know, you watching.
Did you ever talk to MJ about Dream Team?
Nah, man, we spent too much time fussing.
Does he ever talk? Can you talk to him about memories of like, hey man, I remember watching this game, and he would. Does he like that stuff, or does he like, man, leave me alone?
I tell you, like, it's one of those things where with him it was just like with any other athlete I've encountered, including myself. It's more of the genuineness of the conversation more than the context. So if it's a genuine conversation,
he's good with
it's
it.
cool.
Yeah.
You know, if you just trying to talk the talk, I really don't want to talk to you.
Yeah.
But if it's a genuine conversation, I talk about anything.
Right.
You know, and so, I mean, I never got into any of those. We would talk about old stuff when he's referencing, like, hey, look, do this right here. Do, you know what I'm saying? So, but it's, you know, that's not a conversation you really, we playing ball all damn day. So it's like, you want to talk about something else.
Right, for sure.
You know, so I'm not about to, I ask you about something else before I ask you about basketball.
Are you watching the Olympics basketball?
Nah, I don't watch it no more. As a kid, I did. I don't really watch it no more.
Yeah. Orange Cloud Network. Tell us what's going on there in the latest, because I know we caught up a little bit about it a couple weeks back.
Right now, I'm still just formulating content. I put a pause on releasing content just so I can build up more. So now once I start releasing, it's more consistent. And I'm working on a couple projects with relaunching program that I did back in like 2009 to like 2011 maybe. My dates are blurred. I'm sorry. That was called Catch, Caring and Actively Teaching Children Hope. So I'm working on. I got a couple entities that I'm working with right now. Can't talk about it too much, but to relaunch that program in a more effective way to touch more kids. With a little different, you know, it initially based on just exposure and experience, and now adding that mental health component to it, social emotional learning, to just give these kids, especially from the neighborhoods I grew up in, that 70802, 70805 area, giving them more resources to deal with the traumas and the things that they're dealing with.
For sure.
You know, so yeah, that's the next big thing with Orange Cloud Network. So hopefully by the next few weeks we'll be able to dive into that some more.
Does Simone Biles give you an opportunity to speak of mental health more to people that may recognize or at least know who she is?
Kevin Love.
Yeah, maybe. I don't really keep up with, you know, I'm going to do me regardless.
Did you see her story? Where she dropped out of the Olympics team because she called it what they call the flipsies in gymnastics, where her mind was just it couldn't keep up.
I actually was talking to
or
someone
twisties,
about
twisties.
that.
Sorry.
Cause someone made I saw someone make a reference and they was like Kobe would never, MJ would never, and you know it doesn't compare.
Right.
I've played through mental issues, and I know what it did to my game. And not comparing myself to Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant, but the worst I could do is go out there and miss a shot, miss a layup, miss a dunk, miss a defensive assignment. If you in the air and you flipping and you twisting and your mind ain't right,
yeah. Man.
And you can end your life.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
To hell with your career. You could end, and so what was the young lady? Remember it's like in like the 92 Olympics was Carrie Struggs?
I
think that was her name.
Let me see.
Limping, right?
Yeah. And so everybody applauded and it's like she pushed herself so hard.
Right.
And they forget that she retired at 18. 96. I think she's like 18 or 19. It's the last time she competed, I think.
Have you ever seen the Kevin Love player tribune where he was in the middle of a game and he had a panic attack and he just left and he had to go to the hospital and everyone was just dogging him thinking he was a quitter, but I think he sat down and was like, I suffer with anxiety, I suffer with depression, I suffer with all this. And like that, I think that was the first time I've ever seen an NBA player. Sit down.
Here's the thing, and I think if I would have sat down, I probably would have still been playing. If I would have sat down, I had spinal cord surgery. I had a cyst on my spinal cord, and I forced an organization to make me feel like I wasn't doing enough. I allowed an organization to make me feel like I wasn't doing enough. You know what I'm saying? And mentally, it broke you down. It broke me.
Yeah.
It mentally broke me down because here I am trying to rehab and gain weight and regain muscle mass, and I'm in the gym lifting every day. It was to a point sometimes it was lifting weights twice a day. And I allowed people to make me feel like I wasn't doing enough because they misdiagnosed my injury.
Jeez.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I wish I would have taken time out during the season, because now it would have been on more alert.
Sure.
Opposed to me after waiting until I got amnesty to figure out what was physically going wrong with me. So if I would have sat down during the season and said, hey, I'm physically messed up, which is making me mentally messed up. So now at the end of the season, it makes it harder for that team to amnesty me. Or once I do get amnesty, I'm still on the radar because they know I was going through something.
The mind-body connection.
Right. And so
do you have that burn anywhere in you where you feel like you should still be playing?
At this point, no, because I'm not physically capable of playing at that level anymore.
Yeah.
At this moment, I'm not, and I don't think it's for me. I don't have. It broke me. It broke me down so much to where it just took the love of the game out.
Yeah.
I lost the passion for it.
Like a listener asked, Chris Terrell says, why is it Tyrus playing in the Big Three? Like you don't.
I've signed up for it. I went to a couple trials. I didn't make it, but that's also something you got to be selected for, and that's a whole nother topic. But I don't, man. I just transparently, I still love the game of basketball because of what it done for me, and it was always my sanity. But I mentally, man, it broke me down so bad. Like 2013 to 2015 was like the hardest 18, 19 months ever for me. And it just, it did something to me. Like even once I came back, I went to the D-League and I went to Memphis and then I went to Germany, and it just, mentally I wasn't right. It just wasn't, I still had the love for the game, but I despised the business.
Wow.
And I despised the business of it so much that it just was like, and I'm one of those guys that I'm not going to have do it, so
sure.
Even, it's crazy because I remember 2015, Utah Jazz invited me to camp, and I told them no. And my agent was like, yo, this is the first time I have to call a team and tell them no. And he was like, what's wrong? I said, man, I ain't coming. Just let them know. Like, it was like guaranteed $500,000 just to come to camp. It was like a $500,000 camp deal. And I'm like, nah, I'm cool.
Damn.
I could have used the money too. I wasn't, who can't use $500,000 for 2 weeks?
Sure. Right.
Like if you cut me in 2 weeks, if I come to camp and only make it 2 weeks, I'm still guaranteed.
I mean, I'd say that probably 99% of the listening audience don't even have that option.
You know, but mentally I was so out of it, and it was like, I'm good.
Yeah.
Like
Nothing can get me to get there.
Nothing good could have came out of this. I would have went out there. I wasn't at that point. I knew myself mentally, and I just didn't think anything good would come out of it. And then I didn't want to be selfish, you know, being that older guy that's just taking up a roster spot when you got young guys full of passion that's, you know, fighting. You know, these guys are literally trying to feed their family.
Absolutely.
You know, I had money in the bank. I was good. I'm fine. I definitely don't mind getting, you know,
sure,
500,000. But I was good. I didn't need the money.
Didn't need it. Yeah.
You know, I could have used it. I didn't need it. But then when I'm looking at guys, you know, that's when that veteran side of me kicked in. It's like, man, I know guys right now that shit, they'll kill for this. You know, they'll kill for this opportunity.
Starving.
You know, they've been in the D League 3-4 years, surviving off 25 grand. You know, and so I just didn't go.
Does coaching help heal those scars and seeing how it'll just corrupt the businesses? Because if you're coaching high school kids, that's just pure love of the game.
Yeah, that's, man, it is. It's weird. It's weird. And the weird part is people are weird. Because people think that I have some ulterior motive. I'm like, I haven't received a dime from basketball in 5 years. I hadn't got paid from basketball in 5 years. Not coaching or anything. And so it's weird that people, you know, it's like, I would have killed as a high school player to have a former NBA player, a former lottery pick,
volunteering,
or a former SEC freshman of the year,
defensive player of the year.
All these, I would have died to have that access, and I still have people that treat me like I have an
side eye you.
I got parents of players that's on my team that been on my team.
Right.
I got a parent that I've been dealing with for the last 5 years. And he still treats me like I have an ulterior motive.
That's crazy, man.
So it's
so
very,
crazy.
it's
so wild.
It's
just
very,
say thank you and move on.
Yeah,
you know,
just say thank you and move on.
So it's very weird that I have parents that challenge my knowledge, my experience, and question my genuineness, and yet you want to reference guys that you paying.
Yeah.
Right? You want to reference your trainer and your guy.
Right.
You know you got to pay him, right?
Right.
You know he hadn't been where I've been. You know you're trying to get to where I've been.
Right. And I'm giving it to you for free.
And I'm giving it to you for free. I'm trying to give you all the game I got.
Right.
That's the crazy part. That's the crazy part.
So you must really love it
That's
if you get up and go do it again.
I had a
You know
parent,
what I mean? Like
I had a
anybody
parent,
that would question that.
I had a parent. See, now I'm finna talk my shit. I had a parent. Yeah, you know Garrett's the vice president of Player Association.
Yeah.
You know the NBPA puts on a top 100 camp every year, right?
Uh-huh.
So I had a kid on my team that I thought should go to the top 100 camp. I didn't think he was top 100, but I said, you know what? I'm going to pull some strings. I'm going to go to the top 100 camp and coach, and I'm going to bring him with me.
Uh-huh.
After his father told me to my face that I didn't care about his son.
Wow.
What?
I'm not going to top 100 camp. I don't even want to go.
Well, yeah, right. I'm out.
I'm out.
What a blown opportunity.
He'll find out if he watched this show. I never told him that.
I love that.
And I'm not going to say the names, but they know who it is.
Yeah, right.
You know, they'll know who it is.
What's your top project? What are you working on right now? What's got your energy right now? What's pulling you?
The Tyrus Thomas Holiday Hoops Classic.
Uh-huh.
And that's what, you know, that's what me and you got to finish working on, getting everything together for that. And, you know, that's something that I want to do to start getting these kids more exposure. You know, I feel for me to fully feel fulfilled in that coaching realm more than the coaching. I want to be that guy that helps get these kids out. I don't care about if we win a state championship. Cool. Tell me how many scholarships you help these kids get.
Yeah,
or lessons.
You know, that's where I am. You know, and it doesn't have to be just a kid that I coach. If they're in my reach and they're good enough and I got some resources and we can help them get to the next level and further their career, that's what I'm here for.
Yeah.
You know.
I just don't know how you could question that. If you're a parent, how do you question an ulterior motive? I mean, you hear where his heart is, you see where his hand is. It's not out, it's giving. I mean, he's not looking for anything in return. He's trying to help you out. That's why we love him, and that's why he is a genuine close friend of mine and has been for 15 years. And I love him for that. Tyrus Thomas, the Tyrus Thomas Foundation. You remember the Tyrus Thomas Hoops Classic coming up here. We were telling you a little bit about the Orange Cloud Network that we will continue to educate you about. But somebody who genuinely cares about our part of the world, our city, the youth in Baton Rouge, and he's here with us as much as he wants to be. He's got an open invitation all the time to the Jordy Culotta Show. It's great to see you. Love you.
Hey, love you too, bro.
All right, Tyrus Thomas signing off. We'll be back with you tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Enjoy the day. Go see Go Chevrolet, LaPlace, and in Baton Rouge. Go Express Auto Sales.